Welcome back. This is week 7. We're still talking about trig ratios. Before break, we talked about sine, cosine, and tangent, and we're going to be able to review that, which is really nice. So I'm going to label the hypotenuse in all of these in pink. So these are 3 triangles. This is the hypotenuse. And then we have the adjacent leg, adjacent leg, adjacent leg. Okay, if I'm standing right here, notice I talked about using my arms for the reference. The arm is always going to touch the hypotenuse and the adjacent leg. So this is adjacent, 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 and then the side that is not hypotenuse or adjacent is opposite, which makes sense because it's completely opposite side of where you're standing. So this is opposite, opposite, opposite. Okay, so we have to decide whether you're using sine, cosine, or tangent. So I always, they have cosine, sine, and tangent, but we're going to write SOHCAHTOA. Remember the princess's name from my story? SOHCAHTOA is a way to remember that if you have opposite and hypotenuse, you use sine, adjacent and hypotenuse, you use cosine, and opposite and adjacent, you use tangent. And so see here, see what's bold? Adjacent and hypotenuse. See what's bold with sine? Opposite and hypotenuse. And see what's bold with tangent? Opposite and adjacent. So the kind of reminder is if there's no hypotenuse, then it's always tangent. And so that's what we're going to do for all of these problems. We're going to look at our reference angle. The first thing we're going to do is mark our reference angle. And then we're going to label the hypotenuse. Well, if I'm standing here, this is my hypotenuse, and this is adjacent, which means this is opposite. So now we're going to look and see what information do we have. Opposite and hypotenuse. So we go to our little acronym. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So sine of 28 equals opposite over hypotenuse. And we're going to make a proportion out of that. Okay, sine of 28 is x over 19, and I put it over 1. We're going to go x equals 19 times sine of 28. Divide both sides by sine of 28. And we're going to go and put that into our calculator. And then, oh wait, no, sorry. Don't divide here. Just multiply 19 times sine of 28. Just type that right into your calculator, and you're going to get x equals 8.92. We're using Desmos scientific calculator for that. All right. This one, 45. One thing that you should know, when it's a 45 triangle, the 2 angles are the same, so that means the angles opposite them are same. So I know that that's 8. The other thing is tangent 45 equals 1. Okay? Or if I set this up, tangent 45 equals opposite over adjacent. So here I'm opposite over adjacent. We're going to go like this. We're going to do 8 equals x times tangent of 45. What did I do? I kind of did a shortcut because I know when it's a 45, 45, 90, my 2 legs are going to be the same. That's something that I should recognize, that we should all recognize. If you don't recognize it, it's really not a problem because you can just set up your proportion. Tangent of 45 is, it's going to be opposite over adjacent. So here's opposite, and then my adjacent is x. Set up my ratios. Now I have 8 equals x times tangent of 45. We're going to divide both sides by tangent of 45. And then x equals, remember I said tangent of 45 is equal to 1? You don't have to remember that because guess what? Just type this into your Desmos scientific calculator and you're going to get x equals 8. All right. Next problem. We have to decide what we're going to use. It's always good to label the parts of the triangle. Okay, so I can't remember. This is my arms right here. So this is adjacent. Then this is opposite. And what is it that we're using? We're using adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine, adjacent hypotenuse. So we're going to go cosine of 61 equals adjacent 18 over hypotenuse x. Once you set up the equation, you set up your ratio over 1, and you're going to multiply 18 equals x times cosine of 61. To solve for x, we're going to have to divide both sides by cosine of 61 on both sides. And you're going to get x equals, type this into your calculator. 18 divided by cosine of 61, you're going to get 37.13. I'm not showing every step on the calculator. We've done that. You guys should have that down. Right, part D. Here's my reference angle. The side across from 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. Okay, so if I'm standing here, my arms are going this way. I'm going to touch the adjacent side. That means this is my opposite side. So what pieces do I have? I have opposite and I have hypotenuse. So we're going to decide what is opposite and hypotenuse. Look at our little saying right here. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. Every page I do this on, I'm going to set up sine, cosine, tangent. So this is going to be sine of 25 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Again, set up my ratio, and we're going to multiply. 6 equals x times sine of 25. We got to divide by sine of 25 so that we can solve for x. And then that cancels. You get x equals, I'm going to type in my calculator, 6 divided by sine of 25. And I'm going to get 14.197, or I can change that to 14.2. Pay attention. What does it say? Go to the hundredth spot, go to the thousandth spot, go to the 10th spot. If I go to the 100th or the 10th spot, this is going to be 14.2. All right, next problem. Label my hypotenuse. This is my reference angle, so I'm standing here. My arms are touching this side. This is adjacent, so that means this side way across, way far away, way opposite me is the opposite side. And what information do we have? We have the hypotenuse and we have the adjacent. SOHCAHTOA. So notice cosine is adjacent and hypotenuse. So we're going to go cosine. Whatever the angle is always goes next to the cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cross products. Oh, again, you're going to get 8 equals x times cosine 60. Divide, we want to get x by itself. So if we divide this side by cosine 60, you get x. But if I divide this side by cosine 60, I have to divide this side by cosine 60. I type that in my calculator, and I get 16. 8 divided by cosine 60. And my next one, my reference angle, this is my hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm standing here, my arms touch here, hypotenuse and adjacent, which means this one is opposite. SOHCAHTOA, opposite over hypotenuse. So we know sine of 30 equals x over 42. And make this over 1. We're going to get x equals 42 times sine of 30, and you're going to get x equals 21. So what was it that we did? What were our steps? Our steps were that we marked the reference angle. Okay, marked the reference angle. Then we label hypotenuse, adjacent, opposite side. Okay, and then we circled our known information, right? So what is it that we have? Like in this problem, we had adjacent and hypotenuse. In this one, oh, I didn't circle it, but I have hypotenuse and opposite. Okay, the next thing I did is I set up my equation. And then the last thing is I solve. usually for x, so we'll just put solve for x. Okay. Those are the steps. Every single problem, you do the exact same thing. And on a quiz or a test, if all you can do is mark the reference angle, if you even label the hypotenuse, you get a point. If you circle your known information, if you could do these three things and you accidentally set up your equation wrong, you're at least getting partial credit. Okay, let's look at the next page, because there's a typo right here. Let's make this so it says 10. Okay, that first problem is 10 instead of 0. You can't have an angle 0 degrees. So this is going to be, this whole page is going to be homework, exactly like page 1. Exactly like page 1. All this is homework, and this is like page 1. I will come down here and look at this last problem with you. Eugene wants to use the cosine ratio to calculate the right triangle. Which angle would he use to write? Okay, so you have to think about these two things. If he wants to use 29, right? He's right here. This is always the hypotenuse. Then this is going to be adjacent, okay? And then this would be opposite. So that would allow you to use cosine, the cosine ratio. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is the side that's adjacent. So when you set up this equation, you'd go cosine 29 equals adjacent y over 42. Now then you have to solve this one and upload page 2. All right, this is just reviews from before break. It's doing all three of the trig ratios that we've done. Good luck.